This video is sponsored by you. Links for the channel are in the description, along with the Discord. Hello there, Arknights Endfield, the most hated YouTuber here, once again on the front lines of slop content. So, Endfield released today, very exciting. But if you're watching this video, chances are you got overwhelmed by the 10 billion systems in this game. Like, why is there a stock market? This video is here to guide you through early game progression in the simplest way possible. However, there is some things to keep in mind. These are not meta teams for high-end content. This is meant to get you through the main story. So I won't even be going over things like gear or weapons. If you're watching this on launch day, those things will not be relevant to you for at least a week. For the early game, just equip whatever has the highest stat boost, and don't think too much about it until you get to endgame. Every character has a primary and a secondary stat, so focus on those for now. Also, weapons have a little thumbs up icon that tells you that weapon synergizes with that operator. Finally, take everything with a grain of salt. The game has quite literally just released, and the meta has yet to develop. Us content creators really only know a little more than you do through intuition and experience. Best I can do is offer up my opinions from playing around 100 hours of beta 2. My first piece of advice is to do the combat tutorials. Yes, you're gonna have to sit down and study. You're gonna sit like that fucking ADHD child picture. You know the one. These are tiny simulations showing you how an operator works. They are actually good and informative while also being quick and easy. As a quick refresher of how the combat works, every character has a basic combo that ends in a final strike, a combo skill which is triggered under specific conditions, a battle skill, or just skill, and an ultimate. All three types of skills can apply physical ailments like vulnerable or lift, and arts inflictions, which are the elements. Elements can combo off any other element. For example, any element with ice will give you solidification, or with themselves. 4 stacks of the same element trigger a burst of that element. An arts infliction is the singular stack of an element, while an arts reaction is the combination of inflictions. Combustion deals arts DOT, solidification immobilizes the enemy and makes them take extra physical damage, corrosion gradually reduces defense, and electrification makes the enemies take extra arts damage. Let's begin with teams and operators. In this game, to build any one unit to their max level, you will need blood, sweat, a lot of patience, and a virgin sacrifice. But at the start of the game, thanks to low costs and main story quest rewards, you are able to level up your units pretty liberally, and you should. However, you should be planning a team right from the get-go. Like many other games in the 3D waifu collector with some gameplay on the side genre, synergies and team coordination are very important, and for the Endfield early game, your teams will mostly revolve around whoever happens to be your first 6-star. Except for Ardelia and Angelina, I am not calling her Gilberta, all of them have pretty clear teams they fit into. However, in the first few days, before you get any banner 6-star and while you're working up to hard PT, I know you will have to reach that, your super early teams would look like some combination of the 3 units, 4 stars and a few 5 stars. You will have to improvise familiarize with what you get at the start. The most basic free team is Endministrator, Perlica and Chen, with literally anyone in the 4th slot, but preferably Ardelia. Final strikes trigger Perlica combo skill, which triggers Endministrator combo skill. Endministrator battle skill triggers Chen battle skill. It's not really combos, but they do somewhat work off of each other. You can then replace Perlica with Dapan, or go for an electric team with Avywenna, Antal and Arclight. Wulfgard is a free unit as well, so you could run something like Wulfgard, Akekuri, Antal and Ardelia. For Cryo, you could run Estella, Fluorite, Akekuri and Snowshine to then replace with Xaihi, since Snowshine is literally just a worse Xaihi. As for the nature element, as we will discuss later, there is no Santa Claus, there is no Tooth Fairy, and there is no nature teams, like at all. Every unit in the nature element so far is a support for other teams. Ember, Lifeng, and PogChamp are the cornerstones of physical teams, being a healer and a tank, a DPS, and an SP battery respectively. SP is what you use to cast skills. It's the little bar above your HP bar that's divided in 3 sections. Ideally, eventually, you would use all of them together with Chen for the optimal physical team. A team that ignores arts and elemental reactions to just bash the enemy over the head with 4 quadrillion damage. However, until then, you will be using Chen, Endministrator, Catcher, and Dapan. Chen is here to stack vulnerability with her combo attack, which gets consumed by Dapan for damage. Catcher is here to apply vulnerable and protection. And Endministrator is here if you don't have Dapan. If you get Ember, you swap out Catcher for Endministrator. Otherwise, Lifeng and PogChamp go in the normal template team. If you get last Rite, you instead could go for a Cryo team, with Fluorite, Estella, and either Snowshine or Xaihi, though Xaihi is preferable. Please ignore the background footage here, you should not use last Rite as your playable character. This team needs final strikes to apply Cryo through both last Rite's battle skill and Xaihi's combo skill, and last Rite is by far the slowest to access her final strike. Fluorite, Xaihi, and Estella are pretty much identical, but from testing, it seems like Xaihi is just barely the fastest among them. Combine it with the fact she's a ranged character, and she's by far the most comfortable playable character for this team. On battle start, you immediately activate Last Rite and Xaihi battle skills, then spam final strikes with Xaihi and sprinkle in some more Last Rite and Estella battle skills to apply Cryo Inflictions, which eventually will lead into Xaihi and Fluorite combo skills for more stacks, which by now should lead into Last Rite's combo skill. Personally, I prefer waiting until an enemy has 4 stacks of Cryo Infliction before activating Last Rite's combo skill. You may wonder why we aren't using Alesh, the Cryo Vanguard, this handsome devil, and that is because he needs to consume Cryo Inflictions to make SP, which directly conflicts with Last Rite's combo skill. Right now, there aren't very many comfortable Cryo Infliction appliers, which means there just isn't enough supply to satisfy 2 characters that want to consume them. This means in the Last Rite team there's no space for Alesh. Where there is space for Alesh is not only in my insides, but also in the Yvonne Team. Here you have 2 options, either you run Yvonne, Fluorite, Estella and Xaihi, or Yvonne, Alesh, Estella and Xaihi. This is basically the same game plan as Last Rite's team. You start off with Xaihi and Estella skills, then do final strikes with Yvonne. You're playing as Yvonne in this team because you want her final strikes in particular, and because the ultimate switches control to her anyway. Eventually, you will get Xaihi's combo skill. This will either proc Fluorite's combo skill, or you use Yvonne's skills to consume those stacks. This will trigger Estella's combo skill due to the forced solidification, but do not use it! You need to wait until Yvonne does her final strike on the solidified enemy. Then you use both Estella and Yvonne's combo skills at the same time. Eventually, you will be able to use Yvonne's ultimate, which leads into Alesh's combo skill for some SP if you have him instead of Fluorite. Basically, slot in Fluorite for more damage on Yvonne's skill, or slot in Alesh for more SP and faster skill cycles. If you somehow get Laevatain as your first 6-star, you put her with Akekuri, Wulfgard, and Ardelia. Alternatively, you can replace Ardelia with Fluorite or Angelina, if you're one of those people. Or you can go with what I believe to be the actual best Laevatain team, with Akekuri, Antal, and Ardelia. Here you start with a final strike into Antal's skill. The final strike will trigger Ardelia's combo skill, which forcibly applies corrosion. You use Ardelia's skill to consume that corrosion and debuff the enemy even further. Then you use Laevatain's combo skill, which gives her stacks of melting flame. Now you repeat this process until Laevatain reaches 4 stacks. Then you consume them all with an enhanced battle skill. Then you just rinse and repeat, juggling final strikes, Antal and Ardelia's skill, and Suture's melting flame. Eventually, you're gonna get to Laevatain's ultimate, which is where her big damage is. As I said, you could slot in Fluorite or Angelina, but that's not really worth it. Mainly because Laevatain already has a pretty good AoE and multi-target baked into her kit. Said Ardelia and Angelina are kind of odd. We don't really have a real nature team in the game right now. All 3 nature characters are supports for other teams. Fluorite is infliction support, Ardelia is an extremely generic healer you can place in any team, while Angelina is a generic arts debuffer that seems to work the same way. Actually, let me specify something. On paper, Ardelia is technically the better arts buffer. For just losing 5% arts susceptibility, you get to apply it much more often compared to Angelina's ultimate. However, Angelina is easily the best way to group enemies together, which is otherwise really difficult for every other operator in the game. Just the fact Angelina can group enemies together to burst them all at once makes her probably the most valuable support in the entire game. Even if on paper Ardelia is the better debuffer. Angelina works especially well in Yvonne teams. For Rite you still prefer Fluorite, and for Laevatain you still prefer Ardelia. We also don't really have a proper electric team yet, but Angelina would work great there too, with Avywenna, Arclight, and Perlica. So you go any final strike into Perlica combo skill, into Arclight combo skill, into Arclight skill, into Perlica skill, into Angelina skill, into Angelina combo skill, into any final strike, into Avywenna combo skill, into Avywenna skill. If you don't have or don't want to get Angelina, Antal fulfills the same purpose. This is probably one of my favorite teams in the game, if not my favorite, just due to how well everything flows together. This team truly is a well-oiled machine, and thanks to Arclight, you pretty much always have the SP to do whatever you want, and keep chaining skills into skills into skills. And that about covers the teams. When it comes to the factory, I have 2 tips. For one, don't be ashamed to use blueprints. Still, I urge you to interact with the factory system. It's, in my opinion, the best part of the game. It has layers and intricacies to it that are so satisfying to figure out, like a giant puzzle. But if you're just here to watch your waifu whack homeless people, then yeah, don't be ashamed to use blueprints to skip the entire process. There is a website called Talos Pioneers, which hosts Endfield blueprints for this purpose. My second tip is to know what is actually useful to build. Gear in this game is not RNG, it is crafted with gear components, which are made in the factory. You really want an efficient production line of purple and then gold gear components. Also, you want to make infinite plants very soon. You will need it, trust me. For some fucking reason, almost everything in Valley 4 and Wuling wants sand leaves, this fuck-ass yellow flower. It is not an exaggeration to say you should dedicate an entire mini-factory just to the production of different kinds of plants. You can make infinite plants extremely easily by just putting down a seed picking unit which feeds into 2 planting units, one going into storage and the other feeding back into the seed picking unit. Each plant makes 2 seeds, one going into each planting unit, meaning one plant goes into storage while the other plant gets fed back into the seed picking unit to become 2 seeds, and repeat the process for infinite plants. You will need many of these. The factory also ties directly into the trading system with local outposts to get regional currency. This regional currency is needed for several things, mainly factory upgrades, facility upgrades, and later on to purchase these fuck-ass tickets to curb the RNG during farming for weapon augments. Do not ignore this. You will need this for, at the very least, the factory upgrades, so you can produce gear and other utilities efficiently, like the portable bombs. Yeah, there's grenades in this game. The stock market looks very daunting at first, but really it's extremely simple. You go in, you buy the max amount of whatever is the cheapest item today, they refresh daily, you open the sell tab and scroll your friend list, you visit the friend that has the item you bought at the highest price, and then sell them all on their ship for a huge profit. That's literally it. As for the side quests, only ever do the ones where the game explicitly says they will unlock a new mechanic or a new system. Do not bother with the other ones. Going back to the factory, you can know the optimal amount of intake a certain product needs just by looking at its material cost and the time it takes to be crafted. Let's take dense oricocrust powder as an example. This, to be made in a grinding unit, needs 1 sandleaf powder and 2 oricocrust powders. It also takes 2 seconds to be crafted. This means that you need 1 intake of sandleaf powders from 1 system and 2 intakes of oricocrust powders from 2 separate systems. This will feed the grinding unit just enough powders to make dense oricocrust powder efficiently. However, this changes if the item takes longer to craft. Let's take crystone components, for example. They want 10 packed oricocrust and 10 crystone fibers, but they take 10 seconds to craft. This means that each conveyor belt will be able to deliver 5 items in the time it takes for 1 crystone component to get crafted. In other words, you need 2 systems that make packed oricocrust and 2 systems that make crystone fiber to produce crystone components efficiently. In other words, each conveyor belt is able to deliver 1 item every 2 seconds, or 30 items every minute. This is the rule that governs all conveyor belt and all transport of items. If you familiarize yourself with this rule, it will become really easy to know at a glance how much you need to build to have efficient production of 1 item. And that's all. Max out your last Rite. Bye. Hi, thank you for watching. It's end fielding time. Tonight we end these fields. Also, I do want to apologize for something. Let me take the opportunity in this outro. I will be discontinuing the Patreon. It's because I found I can't really keep up with updating it between actually making the videos and studying for university. I found that I can't really keep up a Patreon. So from now, if you want to support, there's just the YouTube memberships. About said memberships, who do we have? We have Kamie Lovewishadel, Yominest Passmort, Zoramar Slink, Bin Raditz, The Long Chef, Jinjing Sentuna, Vinkoching, Ilio, Livinshad, Crayon Box, Efram, The Lord of All Magic, URL Killer, Daivius, Kino, Bomb Ninja, Apollo T, QX102, Mr. Lair, Daniel Raptor, 1K, Never Far Off, Zephyrinix, Nupo, DTK Skykill, I Antonio 3, Sebistm, Sun Kenshi, Kevin McQuarrie, Chromalachan, 5QTZK, Porato Chipu, Genius Gay Shaper, Sulfur 7, Maxio Sess, Camon Hiren, Larmendra, Pansin Peppers, Radio Nuke Unyu, Yuvune, King of Harems, and that guy with 2 names. So, see you for the next Endfield videos. Yeah, since there's a CC in Arknights, it will be Endfield content for a while.